Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. Today we have another Community Club showcase. This time, today being Wednesday, it is time for the Push B to Jump Club. I am Flurry14, joined in the commentary booth by Martin Broadcloak. How you doing, Martin?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you this evening?
I am doing great and super excited for this matchup. We have two amazing runners. Both put on fantastic shows during the most recent Zone tournament. Xenocat, believe, made top 32 in the table, and ex Pancraz, you probably remember in semifinals, making a really good run at what would be the eventual champion, Dusty Griff. So we got two fantastic runners doing this incredibly unique push B to jump mode. Martin, can you explain how push B to jump differs from your standard free enterprise seed?
Well, for any of those wonderful viewers that have ever played Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, they will understand exactly what press B to jump means. And they have basically now built this into free enterprise. So anything that you may think that you need a hovercraft, you know, cut a corner or two, skip a boss or two. Pretty much everything's now fair game now that you have the ability to jump.
Yeah, it's like Mystic Quest without the jerk bird. It's pretty cool. It's funny how just being able to go over one tile can completely eschew the entire script of a boss fight, and we'll see some pretty good examples of how that can actually play out over the course of really the first like 5 minutes. But because so much stuff is open, there's really a ton of places our runners can go to loot. If you want to dive underground right away, you could do that. You want to go into Baron, fantastic. You can go just about wherever you want except for the moon. Now, we do have a couple of objectives. How are these going to affect what these runners decide to do in the first few minutes?
Well, looking at it, obviously, with the flag set that they've got running for, the Mysidian Jump Club, not having free characters is obviously going to come into play. You may see people immediately gun for the Vanilla Edge spot in Cave Evelyn. The other big one that stood out to me was that the K unsafe flag is on, which means you very well may be gated certain access by the moon. And because you do need to turn in the pink tail in this seed, you still need the hook.
Yeah, KN safe can be such a worrisome thing in a lot of different flag sets, but for this one, I think it's going to be okay. We do see a Porum and a Tella start. Tella is always nice to see at the
Mhm.
beginning. Not worried so much about grinding, but in this case, we have early access to the exit spell, which when you're doing your first looting is one of the things you want to have the most.
Absolutely.
And let's see if the runners decide to, as you mentioned before, a good solution would be to go into Cave Evelyn right away and get that free character. It also gets us access to the underground shops. Our shops aren't as standard today, which means Sirens, Bacchae, Hourglass, and Coffins, they're all available. And if you want to get your party levels immediately and quickly, hassle free, that is arguably the best way to do it. But we also have T Wildish, which is why you see our runners go into one of my favorite places to go at the beginning of a seed, the Watery Pass.
Definitely some quality items always to be found in the Watery Pass.
Yeah, Wildish will apply the weighting system a little bit, so you get a little better loot in stuff that would normally be guarded by either bosses or like your time, because this one is out of the way. So normally, before the weighting system, you used to usually never see people come in here, but because it's T Wildish, there's pretty good loot just about everywhere. And let's see if Xenocat shows off. There we go. A good example of what you could do with push B to jump. And where is Xenocat going?
Looks like Xenocat's heading for the treasure chests in East Baron Tower.
yeah, it's a really good play because normally these treasure spots are gated by having to do the Flagon spot and needing, the Baron key. With push B to jump, we could just hop right over the guards, hop into the gully on the side, and we've got defense swords, all kinds of good stuff in there. It's a really heads up play and one that I like a lot as far as like opening gambits and push B to jump. Just look at all this treasure that Xenocat's pulling in, and some good loot there too. So it's really a good call. Artemis arrows are fantastic.
Yes. Yes, and on Pancraz's side, I've already seen him pick up a Stardust Rod earlier among some other key equipment. So even with the checks he's doing, he is off and running as well.
Yeah, that's a very good catch because one issue this particular duo is going to have is damage. How are they going to do it? Well,
Right.
Telespell's not that great for him. Well, is there a Heron Robe somewhere? I don't know, but the Stardust Rod you're going to see right here can be used as an item, and it does full party damage around 700 to 800. Can't be reflected. So for the early game, it is going to be the best way to do damage, and it one shots poor Mylon Z. Good night.
And for a key item we get, well, that's a thing.
Yep,
That
key
is-
that.
That is the thing. That prevents you from having to jump your way underground. Now we have another way down.
Yeah, so if you noticed on the anybody who's watching, you'll notice the little 1, 2, 3, 4 bubbles. Those are the objectives that the runners have to complete in order to get the crystal and go take on the final boss. One of those is drop the magma key into the Agart well. That's number 1. Well, it looks like that is taken care of as soon as you do the Antline cave. So that's one objective down. You might still see runners decide to do the Eblin check just for the shops there, which are really good, and also the character, like Martin mentioned earlier, is a really good play. But with that Stardust Rod, Pancraz is going to kind of lean into that and finds a Pelham on Mount Hob. That's a really good find.
Absolutely. Especially with access to that Stardust Rod, too. Once Palom gets online, his damage is going to be obscene.
Yeah, and Palom, having a Palom here this early in this flag set kind of puts a couple of plays into Pancraz's head right now. First, if you watched a lot of the table flags, you saw how devastating an early twin cast can be. Stardust Rod is only going to make that even stronger, so it's a really good play. The other is, because we have access to the underground now, you might be able to find sirens. And if you find sirens, you get access to the Quake spell. The Quake spell is so very good and is going to win a large number of fights on the overworld. So let's see if Pancraz decides to emphasize that, as Xenocat looks to be emphasizing getting all the free key items we can get.
And I did notice on Pancraz's side, I believe, while looting the waterfall, he did find a single siren, which, like you spoke of, if you are going egg hunting, with easy 34,000 experience, can easily put Palom into Quake territory as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic play, and Xenocat showing off the kind of routing things you can do in this particular flag set. Because we do have free key item on, so it means you can go to Bedward and you can go ahead and get a free key item. This also means is that Demist does not give you an item; it just gives you a wildly annoying boss fight. Because it's free and we're in the area, hey, let's get that Magnus Cave for free because we can jump, and let's get some characters for free at Zod. So Xenocat displaying some excellent routing here, is going to get 2 free characters here, and shows off very well how you can jump on the roofs of the different buildings inside the Tower of Zot and get some pretty creative routing going.
Absolutely. Yeah, paths in this game, from the vanilla version, to change to B to jump, paths are more of a state of mind than anything. Usually there's a faster way.
That's a very good point. And it also like kind of allows you to get a little bit creative too, because there's always like maybe the one or two different optimizations that you can make. Maybe you jump here and save like 2 or 3 tiles. So it's really interesting to see how different runners take on the routes that you're going to be jumping across. And Xenocat is rewarded right away by finding an Edge, who is another fantastic early game character, shows up at level 25. Don't have fantastic weapons for him, but it's Edge, it's early game. That's a pretty good job.
Okay. And on Pancraz's side, looks like he took a trip straight to Ordeals, going to get that Tella online. So jumped conveniently right over the bridge, skipped the 2 bosses there, and is currently pretty close, I would say, getting Tella's full battery of spells.
Yeah, Mom Bomb's one of the more annoying fights in this spot. Generally, the third fight in Ordeals isn't going to give you anything threatening. It's more along the lines of what's going to take up the most amount of time, and having to sit through the explosion and get to all the bombs in the Ordeal spot is kind of annoying when you want to go fast. But on the other hand, like you mentioned, we now have the full suite of spells. Xenocat, not wanting to eschew the key item up here, looks to be taking the fight. This can be a challenging fight with only base level characters, so let's see how they handle it and what boss we get here. It's not too bad.
Well, especially with picking up an Edge and having access to his flame technique, this will definitely help out this fight.
Yeah, that's a great call. The flame spell is going to take care of the ghast. Really, I think the only enemy in this particular fight is going to be time. That Milon is going to counter every single attack with a lit one. The damage is going to actually be pretty good, as Tella just gets one-shot zap. The magic here is nothing to sneeze at. So, like, while Tella and Edge will probably be fine, Horum and Tella may not last very long. So this may be a lengthy fight because of all the counters we have to deal with. But as far as like being terribly threatening, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a problem.
No, not at all. And it looks like Pancraz is dumping the key down the well, which automatically lights objective number 1.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so now Pancraz has access to the entire underground. So we will see him jumping around down there. I would not be surprised to see possibly that siren used to get Hallam to level 22, 23.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think getting Palom to Quake is probably objective A for Pancraz, and also wanting to find where sirens are in general. If we decide to hit go mode, and we're not anywhere close to that yet, but knowing that you have sirens on the table readily available is really good information. And there's some other super important key item or shops to find that might have items that we really, really want. And absolutely fantastic call, because Pancraz, the first thing he does is land in the spot where he can summon that egg. So here we go.
And going back to what you were speaking of shops, as Pancraz did make his way through Cave Eblin, the item shop in there did hold Bacchus wands and Hourglass 2s. So we do know where those are.
Yeah, that's a great catch, and those are fantastic items. Bacchus does a self-cast of Zerk, and also as an added bonus, will Pierce Reflect. So if you set up a Star Veil, you can also Zerk that character, and there's a few bosses where that actually comes into play quite a bit. Hourglasses will cast a stop on the entire enemy party, and if they're vulnerable to stop and you have an Hourglass, the fight is effectively over, and really comes into play on a few bosses as well as a couple of moon grinds should we decide to take it. But we have Quack online, and Pancraz is probably going to motor through as many key item checks as he can.
Yep. Oh, and look at that pickup.
I missed it. What do you get?
A cursed ring on Pancraz's side.
That's always really good to find. Final Fantasy IV agility is rather difficult to explain. So when we get to the mid game where it might actually apply, we'll tackle that. But yeah, Cursed Ring is a supremely important item for your end game fights. And in S standard, that can be in pretty much any shop. And since you'll see a lot of runners because we have access to so many things so quickly, we generally don't want to spend too much time in shops. So yeah, getting one and not having to check any weapon or armor shops is super nice. And it looks like that was a pink tail, so that's halfway to objective 2 as well. So far so good for Pancraz. Xenocat is taking like the almost exact opposite approach per se, and so far that we just get as many key items as we can, is capitalizing on that edge. So taking on those Baron fights, D-Learner's not going to be too much of a problem here, and has a pretty good edge on the key item count.
I see what you did there.
I mean, it's a free enterprise broadcast. I got to do it at least once. Hopefully that gets like at least 6 Baka Shinobis out of 10. And finds the Legend Sword. So that's, well, it's a Legend Sword. It's a key item. It's not one of our objectives. But as I would imagine Xenocat is likely to check some of the things that Pancraz has already done. And we'll be sitting at like 7 or 8 key items relatively quickly.
And I think that's one of the things that makes this flag set so fun, is with B to jump and how open that makes everything, is you won't see runners do the same method. On each side, you may have 10 runners and they all go do 10 different things, which is great because, you know, it's racing. There is no like point A to point B to, you just go. And it's great to see.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, this is called an open world randomizer, and push B to jump just turns that to 11. Pancraz showing off that, hey, you can land on the top of Sylph Cave and jump off. Like, hey, why not? When we get to the moon, you'll see that used in effect pretty nicely. And is going to go ahead and get the freebies from Sylph Cave. Xenocat has wrapped up Baron in, has the Baron key, so this is in logic per se. Not that with K unsafe logic matters too much. However, we know that it is in logic, and it's a relatively easy boss fight because you can skip the Baigan fight as well. So you just have one little CPU, and in this particular spot, this is more like a Celeron right here. So shouldn't see too many problems with this particular fight.
No, not at all. It looks like Pancraz is going to visit our favorite Sheila to check our Sheila 1 check.
Yeah, and I don't believe Pancraz has done Fabul defense either, so should be able to wrap up 2 checks in one. You kind of want to, with Wake Yang with a pan, you kind of want to get those 2 checks done as soon as possible. We mentioned this quite a bit on league streams, how during tournaments, how you'll see runners, especially on high completion seeds, that want to put off Fabul to wait till you have the pan so you can get like all 3 done at once. However, when that's an objective, you kind of don't want to wait for it because, well, it's an objective, so you want to get that done. So getting these 2 done right away, really excellent routing. Keinazo is a perfectly fantastic boss to find here. He can be pretty nasty in some spots. In this one, no, the fight's over already.
All of about 2 seconds.
Hope you enjoyed your screen time, Keinazo. That's about all we're gonna get. If you just want to see how insignificant having Quake makes some of the early game fights, Pancraz's mages are all still in the front row because got Quake. It doesn't really matter.
And it looks like the king gave us the pass. So we have our shortcut to Z when we are all said and done if we need it.
Always nice to have. Don't have to do the moonwalk all the way to get to Z. And especially if we do end up having to go to the moon, then you don't want to have to make a moonwalk and then turn in an objective on Earth and then do another moonwalk again. It's like, no, well, we can just head right into the Troy shop and go straight to Z. So that's always a good thing to find. And Pancraz looks to be taking care of all the objectives. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe Pancraz has done the free Edward check. Am I wrong about that?
No, this is the first time he's visited Toroya today, so
So my only concern here is, and I say this as someone who has done this quite a bit, does Pancraz remember that we have the free key item on and is going to get that item? Because I can tell you for sure there are several races where that flag is on, and I checked that spot about 45 minutes into a scene, feel really bad doing it. So hopefully Pancraz remembers.
I will say if he forgets, he is lucky as it is only a Baron key, and because we have B to jump on, you don't really need it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You don't need it at all. You can get that Avenger that Xenocat just got that will go absolutely fantastic on their cane. But it's really only going to come into play too much if we happen to be close to 10 key items and we want to grind. But given the rate we're getting key items now, that might not be an issue anyway. Just every time I tend to miss it, it always has the Earth Crystal, and then that treasury's there. You're like, well, oh, look at all these crystal swords I could have had.
It looks like for Xenocat that Yang has supplanted Odin as the true king of Baron and noped right out of that.
Yeah, that's not a fight we're gonna be able to skirt the system. No. Usually the cheap way to get past that one is if you have a sufficiently armored Cecil, he can trigger the story cutscene after the second kick. He'll say ouch, and then the fight will end. But we don't have Cecil, so we'd have to beat Yang the old-fashioned way. And, well, that's probably not going to happen for a few levels. So, Ed Pancraz does remember, is a much better player than I am, and did not forget that the item was on, and gets the Baron Key, and is going to route this directly into Zot. So, good check here. Looks like, oh, we do have, oh, is that a ninja sword that Xenocat just picked up? That's going to be even better for that edge. Going to give even more, well, I use that joke.
Yeah.
Edge, good weapon, yes. Well, you'll like that one. May check the character here. Sometimes, even if you don't, or you're happy with your party, there might be a Fusoya there, and Fusoya is a pretty good character, even in Push B to Jump.
He is finally off vacation after we all sat here through the last tournament, catching some sun, and lo and behold, the man is back finally.
Yeah, always going to be, well, speaking of ninja swords, you want another one, it's only 66,000. And that's one issue that you can see sometimes in Push B to Jump is that you have such access to so many key item spots right away that you don't necessarily do a whole lot of looting. And that can come into play where a lot of these really good items that we see in shops like Hourglasses and Bacchus and Ninja Blades, they're expensive. And I think if you watched a lot of the group flags, you saw a lot of racers do a whole lot of looting, anticipating that we're going to need to spend a whole lot of money. And, well, in Push B to Jump, you generally don't do a whole lot of looting as much. So we're going to see if that comes back to hurt our racers a little bit. But Xenocat is going to check the character. Did Pancraz check this character?
He did. He checked and reset out of it. I believe it was a Yang.
My sister's favorite character, Yang. Yeah, probably, given the character set we have now, probably not someone you're going to pick up unless we had like a defeat Odin now or something. And yeah, okay, it's going to jump right over it. It's actually going to go into Upper Babel. Oh, because Xenocat doesn't have the Magma Key.
No, because they faded Antlion. So that is where our key is sitting.
Yep, and it's just another example of how Push B to Jump can cause divergence. Antlion Cave, well, it's a walk, and we've had so many free key items that maybe Xenocat wants to check those shops on the ground and whatnot. So, yeah, not having that magma key is going to cost a little bit of time, not a lot, because as you saw, Xenocat definitely jumped over the necessary tiles to avoid the bosses there. Doesn't avoid the pitfall. You can actually avoid the pitfall, but you probably don't want to.
Unfortunately, it doesn't leave you a lot of places to go if you jump over where you're supposed to.
Yeah,
But falling down the pitfall, we did get a look at our lower Babel boss, and it is an antlion currently sitting at the top.
Ooh, yeah, that's generally not one of the bosses you want to see there. That would dissuade me a little bit from going out there without getting some levels first. If I remember correctly, in early versions of Push B to Jump, going out that back door after jumping over the pitfall was a way to soft lock your game. So you probably didn't want to do that. But looks like we've got Xenocat. Yeah, it looks to be prioritizing some of these item checks, and we might get a job for it to check. Let's go, Xenocat. Please. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
A field health officer. Fantastic. And then he's going to check. Nothing terribly great in this item shop, but that's okay. There are plenty more to check. Pancraz taking out that CPU. We'll see if Pancraz checks the Odin spot. Our runners are about even on levels, but I feel like without a Cecil, that Yang fight is going to go south for either runner who attempts it.
Absolutely. And still no sirens that we've seen for purchase anywhere yet.
Yeah, Xenocat did get that cursed ring as well, so not going to be missing out on our agility manipulating tool of choice. You do want to be a little careful about looting all these trap chests because one of them is trapped, does have the 5 warrior fight, which usually at a mid-level party you might be able to with a Quake or two. However, okay, Xenocat's not getting greedy. Yeah, it would cause a reset because of the damage tiles. So good to see. Oh, there's Odin. Boy, I must have missed him in the first fight. It was over in a blink.
With such a low HP spot, I mean, I love Odin, but you sneeze on him and he goes away in this spot. So
yeah, I think a lit 0.5 probably takes him out in this spot. So yeah, it's only 400 HP, ultra weak to lightning. Basically, Pancraz, you can spend some time sorting out your inventory while you wait for the spell to cast. And yeah, we saw Xenocat handle D-Lunars, had that flame spell. Quake is going to do even more damage, provided they don't get turn number 2, but I think this spot is slow enough that it's not going to matter. Or board AI can just show up and be like, nah.
Yeah, not having it. Our tracker for tonight, Sheep, brought up a point that nobody has checked the Dwarf Castle yet. This is true. So we still have possibilities for sirens. We also have a plan B in Edge if we really want the sirens.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Edge can steal sirens from the trap chest in Babel. Dwarf Castle is probably the check where you start to see the levels creep up a little bit and will present like a significant challenge for these parties. Usually you want to have at least Quake.
Did you just see Xenocat's screen? Did you see who's sitting in the Feymarch?
Oh, yeah, that's the alt gauntlet. So, normally, the Fubu Gauntlet is that run of 5 annoying fights that we have when we have to defend Fabul, but with alt Gauntlet on, it pulls 5 fights from the surrounding area, which means in the Feymarch, you get to fight all those conjurers, and you even get the fabled clappers that used to be a suboptimal grind of choice way back in 2018. Fortunately, that's not a thing anymore, but if you want the key item from that spot, it's going to be clap on, and probably gonna put that off for quite a bit. We're gonna see Xenocat does find sirens in the
There
Dwarf
they
Castle shop. So yeah, gonna definitely buy some of those. Might even go back and use a few before doing the Dwarf Castle bosses.
Absolutely. And to continue your thought with the alt gauntlet, um, the alt gauntlet's partner, Dark Knight Cecil, sitting at Leviathan.
Yeah, that's
That's not a good day. That's not a good anything waiting to happen at that spot.
Yeah, Dark Knight Cecil will hit you with Dark Wave based on his attack, and the attack in the Leviathan spot is pretty high. That's going to do about 1,200 damage to your entire party. That Cursed Ring is going to be huge in finding, being able to deal with that spot. If we had an Edward, well, you could get past that spot right now, but we haven't found a Bard yet, so gonna put that one on hold. Looks like is Pancraz deciding to take on the trap chest in Babel? All right,
Yeah.
is very good loot.
Rewarded with a white shirt. I will. For murdering an eyeball, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trade. Might have wanted to try, as Sheep Launcher caught, and you mentioned earlier, might have wanted to sneak a siren. So that white shirt as a cursory reward is absolutely fantastic and is going to burn that egg right now. I think we're going to see Dwarf Castle come up on both Pancraz and Xenocat's side. It's kind of interesting to see our two runners take like drastically different routes, but now seem to be converging at the very same grind for the very same fight, which is pretty neat.
I think that based on what we've seen so far in the seed and certain locations, obviously seeing Dark Knight, Cecil, Leviathan, the Gauntlet, levels are going to be important early. So does it surprise me that they're going after eggs right now? No, not at all, because they are going to be necessary.
Yeah, once we've gotten all the early game fights out of the way, we're pretty steadily into the mid game fights, and they will require a pretty decent amount of levels. Now, Pancraz, I need to fix my face, is totally not going to go Dwarf Castle, is going to take advantage of that Tower Key and get 2 checks out here in Babel. However, that Antlion fight is going to be a little rough. Now, the Sirens are going to make that much easier, but Antlion's going to still hit pretty hard here, so we're going to need a pretty steady dose of jumping. Might not see Zerk in here for that reason. Oh, good call, Sheep Launcher. Yeah, Pancraz doesn't even know what the boss is here, so is going up blind. So, yeah, there's a few bosses that would be not too bad. Just Antlion isn't one of them. Xenocat knows that Antlion is up there, and they're going to go up there anyway. So, yeah, it looks like our runners are prioritizing the two checks over what might be an easier fight, at least a less HP total in Dwarf Castle.
Right.
So if we're getting across the mid game, what are you looking at to accomplish with your teams now, given that the key items that we have? Are you looking to darkness your way to the moon, or are you looking to get rid of everything on Earth that you think you can find?
Yeah, it's there's so many ways you can look at this with where items can be located, quantity of items on the moon versus nobody likes leaving the one check behind.
Yeah.
The single one-off that always ends up burning you for some reason.
Yup.
So would it surprise me at all if the entire Earth was completed before the moon? No. Could I see someone going to the moon as soon as they spot darkness? Absolutely.
So we're actually seeing a couple of interesting things here. The equivalent, I would say, of, since we've been making some Mystic Quest analogies here, the equivalent of Jerkbird for me is definitely Valvalis. However, finding Valvalis in this particular spot in the tower is absolutely fantastic, especially since one of the perks of push B to jump is that everybody can use the jump command. Just push B and, well, you're going to do Kane's jump, and that's also going to come into play on Pancraz's side, because a regular attack on the Antlion fight would trigger a counter that would do 300 damage, which combined with the physical in that spot is pretty nasty. But you see edge jumping, so yeah, good example of using the jump command on both fights. Now let's. One of the things I always find funny about the push B to jump is how the characters have different sprite animations as they're coming down and going up from the jump, because they don't normally get to do that. And I've always thought Porum's is one of the funniest. As she goes upwards into the sky, she's doing like the casting where she's super happy. It's like, I can fly, look at me. Whoosh. It's probably my favorite thing in push B to jump.
And rewarded with a twin harp.
Oh, and wow, I totally didn't notice this right away. That was objective number 3, so no wonder our runners are going up here before Dwarf Castle. We can knock out an objective. Yes,
Absolutely.
please. Twin Harp, though, sadly, I'm probably not going to see music.
No, unfortunately, when you can jump over that fight, and it's a pair of fights, and it takes time, no, not like, especially with D.Miss not carrying an item in this flag set.
Yeah, we are going to skip as many bosses as we can, and as much as I know chat loves the music that comes with the Twin Harp, probably not going to see it today, but that is objective 3. It is another key item. I think the next key item that we're looking for our runners to get that's really going to put a decision to them, like you had mentioned before, is going to be the Darkness Crystal, and whether or not our runners decide to take a chance on the moon or finish up whatever's on here. But we're going to get to see very shortly what the item that we're going to get from the tower key was. Now, do you remember what the item was that we got from the Twin Harp?
You would ask me that, of course. I'm like,
oh, it was the tower key.
It was the tower key. There you go.
So, Asuka showing off some skills here. If we did not have push B to jump, this seed wanted you to go to the top of the tower keyless, get a Twin Harp, go into the Twin Harp, get the bottom half of the tower key, go back into the tower, get the cutscene, and be rewarded with a sand ruby, which doesn't help us at all. So, yeah, it's a good thing we're on push B to jump, because if we weren't and we had run down this rabbit hole, that sand ruby, unless it has a foo, would have made us feel really, really sad.
Right, and I can pretty much say that neither runner has been to Kaipo yet, so we have no idea what is sitting there.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would check that character at this point, but man, it can be a foo, and if you find a foo, it drastically changes how you approach the game. I just asked my dogs. I say foo soya once, and they start barking.
It's true, dogs do sense evil.
Yes, that's exactly it. Alright, so Pancras did check the Dwarf Castle shops. He's going to be a little dismayed to see the sirens there, knowing that he didn't have to steal the siren before, but did get a white shirt from it. And if we're going to keep a Porum into the Z fight, which seems likely unless we come across a Rosa or a Fu, then that's going to be something that you want to have. We see a red sprite jumping, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Dark Imps. This also means Dancing Elements. No, it is the Dark Imps. Bummer. Dancing Elements is by far my favorite sprite to see in this spot.
Absolutely. Now you do bring up a valid point with, obtaining a Rosa or somebody like that. With access to sirens, and obviously your characters have a moderate amount of levels at this point. Do you drop anybody for a Rosa?
Yeah.
If you find her, do you continue with what you've got and just siren it up to whatever levels you need and go off running? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think the catch-up mechanic in this particular game this particular mod where if you have a character that is 5 levels under the median, they get double experience, really encourages you. Well, I won't say it encourages you, but it doesn't dissuade you from picking up new characters. So if we see a Rosa, I personally would take him. And hey, there's our answer to the Yang fight in Odin, but we're not going to take him because we have a lot of levels. So, but that's Cecil. That's a character. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Xenocat picks up Cecil for that reason. We can do a Siren, we can slingshot him if we really want to. And with T Wildest, there's a pretty good chance we're going to see a Holy Sword at some point in time.
And the fact they already have the legend, I mean, they're halfway there. So finding the adamant at this point, it's not outside the realm of possibility to go there, pick up the X-Cal, and hey, there you go, Cecil's online.
Yeah, I mean, X-Cal Cecil and Crystal Sword Cecil are the two most feared melee characters in the game. But now I don't believe we have vanilla agility on, so we don't have to worry about that whole bag of beans.
Right.
And we did see the other blue shirt. That was the Water Hag. That's a scripted fight, so no issue there. We had 2 freebies in Dwarf Castle. That's kind of interesting. And let's see what the key item we get from Dwarf Castle. I would imagine our runners are probably going to follow whatever this happens to give. If it's the Luca Key or the Darkness Crystal or the Pan, but if it's the something like the Spoon, that's going to be pretty interesting. Oh, it's the Luca Key. Well, I think we know where our runners are doing next.
Yep. Now, obviously, the nice part about having beaded jump, using the Luca Key, yes, it is a walk. Yes, you get a key item out of it. Yes, you can jump over the bridge and not have to deal with what is sitting there.
And what is sitting there can be incredibly brutal. That spot has both one of the highest magic attacks and one of the highest speed in the game. I'm sure you can think of a boss or two that can do a rather devastating magic attack at the very beginning of the fight and render you helpless.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about. No, I've never run into that before, ever. No, not once.
But we'll see what the item we get here is. So it's a nice thing to get out of the way before you're faced with, the moon problem. And if you needed on different flags, if you needed a boost of experience, those doors could be useful for that. But we have sirens, so no worries here. And we do see Xenocat did take the Cecil, hasn't done ordeals yet, so that might clue us in as to what Xenocat's next move is going to be.
Absolutely. And while up there, obviously, once you upgrade Cecil, now you have access to that Yang fight and make that very short-lived.
Yeah,
which will be another key item check.
Yep, that's a very good point. It is the answer to the Odin problem if the answer doesn't involve getting to like level 35 and dealing with him the old-fashioned way.
All right.
Luca Cave does give us the Darkness Crystal, so this will give Pancras a little bit of an edge if Xenocat does decide to go back and do all those checks that they skipped, like ordeals in Antlion Cave. And then we're going to see what Pancras decides to do. Are we going to immediately jump to the moon, or are we going to clear out the rest of the stuff on Earth?
Well, here's the valid point. Darkness Crystal was picked up. That is key item number 10.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So with access to sirens underground and a fancy little egg spot not very far away.
Yeah, that is 10. So yeah, that the siren spot with 10 key items, our experience is doubled. So that siren that was giving you 34,000 experience is now going to give you 68,000, and that is a very, very fast way to infuse your party with the levels to take on pretty much whatever you want in the game. And I think Pancras might be gearing up to go to the moon and may not want to hit any more shops other than these hourglasses and Baccae that he is buying right now. So we'll see if that stands. Was there something in the weapon shop here that he really, really wanted? Oh. Are we chucking Drain Spears today? I'd love to see some Drain Spears chucked today. Are you going to sell the shirt on your back, Edge? That seems to be the plan.
I feel like the inventory is going away.
Oh, are we selling the... No, don't sell the white shirt. I like that. Oh, we're selling a lot of things. Okay, so... Wow, Protect Ring, be gone. Sorcerer Robe, be gone.
Yeah,
Bolt, be gone.
Don't sell the cursed ring. Don't
fine.
do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah. Don't sell the cursed ring. And we are buying Drain Spears. So why would he be buying a whole bunch of Drain Spears?
So the way Edge is wonderful. Edge loves throwing things, mainly weapons, a lot of weapons. And the way throw works is that it's based off the attack power of the weapon. So for anyone who's played the vanilla game, they understand that, hey, you get a spoon, you throw it, it more or less does quad 9 damage. Drain Spears have a really high attack power, but very low accuracy. So they're not exactly a great weapon for Kain, but when you're throwing them, it doesn't matter. You will easily do 3,000, 4,000 damage by throwing a spear, which is more than what Edge is going to be putting out at any point anytime soon.
Absolutely. and that's only going to go up because we did notice that Pancras did pick up some hourglasses, so it's probably going to be getting some experience in one way or another and just astronomically raise the damage of that throw command. And those Drain Spears are going to be thrown for a good 5,000 or 6,000. You can't reflect it or do any other kind of shenanigans to avoid it. I believe it ignores defense, and this gets too much FF6 about defense ignoring things. And yeah, it's really, really good. It's also an interesting, different clash of styles. You might see some people see the ninja sword there and be like, well, I'm just going to put 2 ninja swords on Edge and berserk him. And that's a totally valid way of doing things. Like there's nothing wrong with that either. So, and we see the Accursed Ring equipped. But before we get to that, Xenocat looks to be doing Mount Ordeals, so we might see that Odin play come in. I would imagine if you're going all the way to do Ordeals at the 45-minute mark, you're probably going to take on that Odin fight at some point in time, right?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's the check you don't leave behind. It's there if you're planning on going to the moon afterwards, because I don't see anybody going back to the marsh to play around with what is sitting there.
No. No, that would not be fun. All right, so it's every commentator's nightmare, but I'm going to give it a shot. It's time to explain Final Fantasy IV Agility. Here we go. All right.
Can we just say black magic and leave it at that?
Yeah, I know, right? The way the game calculates agility, right? The way it wants to say how fast a character is. Imagine that it's filling that meter that you see in Final Fantasy VI. That's filling up to tell you whether or not you can take a turn. Let's just imagine that is there. How it calculates how fast a character is how many ticks it takes for that meter to fill up. So, and we'll use that as an analogy, right? So if you're relative agility 5, let's say it takes 5 bars to fill up. Now, the way it calculates that number is it takes the character that is known as the anchor character. In this case, the anchor character is the middle character in your party. So it takes the speed value of that, and it compares every single actor in the game to that, both enemies and your party. And that's the important part to know. So that if you take that anchor character and you make it really, really slow, then everything else in the game is going to be really, really, really fast. Now, since the amount of bars it takes to fill up has a top speed, right? It can only be a minimum of 1, right? So relative agility 1 is the fastest you can go because you can only fill up 1 bar in a meter, right? You can't have like 0, -1, -2. So since the fastest it can be is 1, then you're not making everything else super fast. You're giving it all at the same speed. So that means if there's an enemy who normally would be a lot faster than you, by equipping that cursed ring and making everything relative agility 1, you're making the enemy just as fast as you are, which is a good way to cheat the system. And those characters and spots that were super fast and taking 3 turns, well, you don't have to worry about that now. Now, the downside to this is that you're making everything relative agility 1, which means the agility is the character checks or the turn checks, they're going really, 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 really fast. So while you're inputting the menu and you're inputting commands, those enemies are taking a lot of turns. If only there was a way to have the game input commands for us. Well, there is, and that would be Berserk. This is why you see Kane on Pancraz's screen getting just a whole lot of turns. And it's the best part about relative agility 1 is that when you Berserk a character, it doesn't matter the speed. You're getting 2 attacks before the enemy even gets to take a turn, which is really, really, really good. So, yeah, in a nutshell, Cursed Ring is a way to take all those enemies that cheated by being super faster than you, and we're all on the same speed now. It does make things a little difficult, and you need to be like on your toes as far as inputting commands and all that, but by and large, it's a way to take a lot of those moon fights that are totally cheating, except for Evil Wall, he just cheats regardless, and even the odds for you. Whew, hopefully that was pretty good.
I would say you covered it very well. It was just like being back in math class in first period.
Yeah, well, yeah, so in the meantime, Pancras is preparing for that by taking on a whole bunch of King Ryus, getting massive amounts of levels. Now, normally you'd say, well, wait a minute, you just told us how you don't want agility because you want it to be really, really low. Well, Tellus is already pretty low. You equip a cursed ring that's minus 15. He needs to gain a whole lot of levels before you need to worry about your other characters not being relative agility 1.
I mean, so, we could simplify it. Tellus an old man. He doesn't get faster. Okay. Yeah. He has one speed. It's Tella, and that's it.
It's slow. Yeah, he's. I'm gonna do things at my speed. You're gonna just sit there and wait for me. So yeah, Tella's really, really slow, and with a cursed ring, he's even more slow. So if you watched the League flags where you didn't have a cursed ring and you watched racers spend way too much time trying to keep Tella down to not let him gain experience. Flurry, I'm talking to you, game 2 of the finals. Yeah, having that cursed ring is a really nice boon to not have to worry about that. Tella can get levels perfectly fine. And Pancras is, after he takes on a few more of these dragons, you can see how much experience he's getting. It's a lot. And yeah, he's going to be ready for pretty much anything the game has to offer. Now, I have a question for you, Martin. Normally, those dragons would give me 60,000 experience. I know, more math. But he's getting credit for killing 3 dragons. Why is that?
He's cheating.
I knew it. I knew it.
So the game pretty much you can revive anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. Could be your party, could be the enemy, as long as it's not the last enemy on the screen. But you can revive anybody. The way revive works, it's based off the vitality stat of a character, or in this case, the enemy. Our wonderful coding team, thank you, Square, for this. All enemies have vitality 0. So when you revive an enemy with vitality 0, well, they come back with no HP.
Yep.
So they die again. Yep. So if you can get a life potion spell on an enemy as it's dying, you basically get a free kill out of it. And if you're good, you can get more than one.
Oh, wow, yeah. So that fantastic way to get experience and get kills, get that one bonus kill, and Pancras deciding to jump over that D-Lunar spot, ignoring the fight completely, and finds the hook. That's pretty important.
That takes care of objective number 2 when we go back to Earth. So
only need one more, right? Just the pan?
We are pan hunting, and I will speak for the entire chat when I say we all hope the pan is sitting at the Leviathan spot right now.
I mean, one can hope. Now, Bahamut as a boss here, not a problem whatsoever. All he does is tell you, I'm going to cast Mega Nuke, I'm going to cast Mega Nuke, and he does it 5 times. And it gives you plenty of time to put up a Star Veil if you so choose and reflect that right back at him. Or you can just be incredibly powerful like Pancraz is and just get him down before that even happens. So yeah, that's the White Spear spot down. What does that give us? It gives us adamant armor. Yay!
And here I thought you had to fight Pink Puffs for that, and the game just hands it to you. Like, here you go.
Yeah, adamant armor, kind of broken. Any fire, ice, lightning attack, only going to do 1 damage. Rubicant's Glare at the sealed cave spot, 1 damage. Pretty much negates all physical attacks if you're in the back row. So that's also going to do 1 damage. Oh, and it gives plus 15 to all stats. So yeah, Kane's going to do even more damage than he was already doing. And he's at relative agility 1 with an Avenger that automatically berserks him. So Kane, this is his best timeline right now.
And it looks like Pancras is not leaving the moon quite yet.
Yeah, we got a few more checks to make. He's going to check the Ogo spot. It will be interesting to see. Well, you know what? I don't think there's anything he can get at this point that's going to compel him to go off the moon.
No.
So, yeah, I would imagine we see Pancraz just keep on keeping on until... If we see a rat tail, that'll be interesting. But other than that, I think we're going to see Pancraz keep on going until hopefully he finds a pad. Now, Plague normally can be an interesting fight where you have to do interesting things. However, if you have a character that is berserked and at that famed relative agility 1, that count will never go away. So Pancraz could literally put his controller down and win this fight.
And the fact that he's still menuing, no, he has not put down the controller and locked it away.
I mean, it's my favorite type of boss fight where I don't actually have to do anything. I mean, that's probably how Evil Wall feels every time he shows up at the King Queen Evelyn spot. Hey, you don't get to do anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a particular pain point of mine.
However, I was going to say, you're reliving an incident, it sounds like. Or a few incidents. Yes.
And hey, speaking of things we like to throw, there's the spoon, free 10,000 damage. But it is not what you're looking for, so that's a good thing to find. And Pancras is actually not resetting out of that. Sometimes you'll see runners will actually just straight up reset to avoid the walk going out of it for, just to save time, because, it's a race, you want to go fast. Looks like, he's not skipping the Wyvern spot. He's just showing off. Yep. Look at me jump.
Yep. Is that Pats? Pats are more like guidelines than anything. You can shortcut anything and with B to jump.
You go where you want.
Although there are some things you cannot shortcut in B to jump, as I have learned.
Like 2 tile gaps. It's funny how push B to jump makes you curse the 2 tile gap. Like, why couldn't you make this 1 gap in the Tower of Zod 1 tile less, and then I could have skipped 30% of the... Yeah. But right. King Queen Evelyn, well, not really much for us to talk about. He could also put this controller down and win the fight. The question is going to be, does Kane take care of them before we see the cutscene? I'm not sure. And we're really seeing like one of the examples of how one of Pancraz's strengths as a runner is how he's just incredibly efficient at getting key item checks. I mean, Xenocat at 55 minutes having this many key items and going to the moon in a normal race would be in an absolutely astounding position, and you would not think would be 3 or 4 checks behind, but that's exactly where they're standing at right now. So not to downplay Xenocat's playing absolutely fantastic. It just shows off how really good Pancraz is as far as like getting key item spots done efficiently.
Absolutely. And what do we get for a drop? We get
hoping for a rat
We
tail.
get.
More things to
I'm-
throw.
I would say I'm still not regretting, not taking, not taking Cecil. Like, nope, we're good. We're good. That sword will serve a purpose.
So
Just
there
give
was
it a bit.
something that I think we might have missed because Pancraz jumped over the recruitment tile. There's a vanilla Fusoya sitting on the moon.
Missed the jump
Yeah.
that time though.
Yeah, missed the jump, so doesn't want to sit through Fu telling us how awesome he is.
Yes, and
There you
also
go.
just a small point to the people that made me to jump on this. They did make the moon low gravity, so you notice you jump a little bit higher when you're on the moon.
That is a pretty nice touch. And okay, so a couple of things that chat is correcting me on that I was totally not paying nearly enough attention to Xenocast stream, because they did do the Odin spot like we predicted when you did Ordeals, and that gave the rat tail. But the rat without the hook, there's not much we can do that. So first of all, this is one of the fights you even on a push B to jump seed with an overpowered team you don't necessarily want to see, but with the cursed ring, Xenocat might be in a spot to be able to do this. The other fight you really don't want to see is the one that Pancras is fighting right now. It's a D-Mist on the moon.
Now the nice part obviously is, with relative agility 1, this fight we should get through before D.Mist decides to, turn to Mist.
Yeah, Kane is Zerked, and there's nothing we can really do to stop him. So if D-Mist does happen to transform, between the time it takes to actually get through the transformation and being relative agility 1, it's a whole lot of cold mist, but yeah, the damage plus the drain sphere is not going to be a problem. And it's a Zeus Gauntlet. Oh, this could get pretty interesting. We're jumping
like
on the
this.
moon.
I like this. Not even taking the time to fly over there. We're just gonna bounce.
Yep, it's like a little throwback to when you did the landed on the top of the Sylph Cave and said, "Hey, we can jump over those tiles." You don't have to get into the whale to check the shop or Cave Bahamut. You can just jump. Now, I think because Rat Tail, if that was something we could turn in, but we don't have the hook yet. So there's two interesting points I think we're still looking at. Either Golbez has the pan, or that pan is sitting at the spot where you really wanted it to be, the gauntlet. And also brings up the question of if Xenocat does get the hook, do they actually check that rat tail right away before going off the rest of the moon bosses? Because it could be the pan we're looking for.
Yeah, and on Pancras' side, did you notice he left Golbez?
Yeah. Oh, so I was just gonna say, like, I understand skipping Golbez because that's a spot that can be pretty time consuming. But your alternative is also time consuming, although is gonna be taking on that Odin fight. Well, there must have been something in the shop you really wanted.
Unfortunately, Xenocat not rewarded for the Cave of Value.
Oh, I missed it. What do you get?
It was a Charm Rod.
Well, I mean, it might be a useful thing to have if we didn't already have a Stardust Rod at like minute 2 in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Xenocat so Xenocat looks to be heading back to Earth. My guess would be taking on that Feymarch. I think that's the only thing they have left.
Right. And it looks like Pancras is going to take care of... Now, this is good because Pancras has not done the trade-in for the pink tail yet, so he will actually be able to do both at once now, which is nice.
I mean, the more adamants, the better, right? I mean, if you can give me 2, sure, I'll take a second one. I mean, we could be looking at a very efficient 17 out of 17 happening here if that pan doesn't give a key item here. It sure seems to be one of the last things our runners are going to find. Fingers crossed, we're hoping for it, but Rat Tail at Pancras, as you mentioned, is going to be able to turn that in, and if that's not it, then it kind of has to be at the Feymarch. I don't think we have anything else left to check.
No. No, I believe that is all the checks in the game.
Let's see. I think Xenocat, well, a few airship bonks, but I believe they already did Dwarf Castle, so it's probably going in here just to get more sirens. Pancraz, I mean, I think if you faded that Golbez, you're probably not going back. Yeah, gonna get that hook, turn in the rat tail, and we'll see where he goes from there. One advantage Pancraz will already have, having done his grind already. As soon as he gets go mode, he's got the pass. He's head straight into the Z fight. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. He's going right in. Xenocat at level 39 would require a little bit of trickiness. Now would be why you went to get sirens, but I bring that up because Xenocat might still have a few minutes to go, because it's probably going to siren up for this anticipated Feymarch fight.
Well, yes, it is time, but we're talking about... Now, did Xenocat have the Avenger?
I believe so, because I think Xenocat was the first one to check Baron, and I believe we got Avenger from Baron Castle. Might have decided to not. Oh well, look at that bummer. Yep. We didn't get a required alt gauntlet.
I will echo Askus. Yeah, boo. Oh, I was hoping, but that is go mode.
Yep, objective number 2 on the board. Forgets that he parked the hovercraft on the left side. Totally done that 50 to 100 times, and is going to go immediately bonk Yang on the head with the pan. Probably not even going to check Sheila 2, and head immediately to Zeromus fight. Fortunately, we didn't see him go immediately into Zeromus without getting the crystal, because that's, also a thing I've done. But yeah, we should get to see the Z fight relatively soon.
I think Xenocat's probably got a couple more eggs to go, and unfortunately, with the hook being on the moon, that is going to take some extra time to go back and pick that one up.
And this is a totally sensible play, because Xenocat has taken the time to do the Odin spot early, has prioritized Earth checks. So when you're this late in a race, you're like, okay, if somebody went to the moon early, I'm probably already well behind. I've chosen a route, so I'm going to commit to it. And to do that, you do maybe the top side of the moon, but then you take on those Feymarch spots. So it's a totally sensible play. And on the plus side, that hook did not actually require a boss fight. So if Xenocat decides to, when they do go to the moon, it may be the first thing they check, and they won't even have to get a boss fight. They can just exit right out.
Right. And yes, as Morpheus points out, yes, this is a full 17 of 17 seed.
Yep, 17 out of 17. I think out of the 28 checks, Pancraz has done 25 of them and is sitting at an hour 4. So that's really good time. We see the 17s out of 17s in chat to commemorate Pancraz's excellent accomplishment, and it is almost time to ask a question. What question may that be?
I'm beginning to see these flags show up in chat that have Z's and question marks on them. I believe that has something to do with the final boss of the game.
That's correct. It is not chat being tired.
No. I believe it's something about the final boss being randomized. Obviously, we can't place Zeromus. I wish we could place Zeromus somewhere in the game, but we're nice. We leave Zeromus at the end. So there are, I've lost count, over 450 different sprites that Zeromus can be, courtesy of Scala Kitty, and we have no idea who it's going to be.
Yep.
So I will let you ask the question.
I guess it is time to find out whose butt are we going to kick tonight. Have any particular favorites you're looking for?
I've played so many of these. I'm trying to think what sticks out. I do like Flippy Miss. I do like flipping
Clippy
the
Miss.
table.
Well, Clippy Miss would be awfully appropriate given Windows Update happening recently. I feel like Clippy Miss would probably be the best thing ever to happen here. I'm also very partial to Region Miss and 404 Miss. But yeah, we're about to find out.
Mhm.
Let's see who's but. I must admit, I do not know this one.
Neither do I.
It looks particularly menacing.
It's a very large sword.
Boy, if we got like a Mystic Quest sprite up push speed.
Oh.
Okay, Scala's letting us know
Uh.
Garyon, an FF4DS bonus boss.
Ah.
Okay, well there you go. Now, as far as this particular fight goes for Pancraz, not really too much to worry about. Is going to be combining both the darts of Edge, which are plentiful between the spoon and the Dragoon Spear and all those other goodies we found. The spells of Palom and Porum, and Kane wielding that Avenger and doing it all at relative agility 1. I don't think there's going to be that much of an issue here. I think the only thing we really have to worry about is the combo platter. If you happen to see a Meteor immediately after a full-powered Big Bang, that could be a problem, but with 2 Adamant users, chance of dodging is pretty high, so Pancraz probably has us in the bag.
Yeah, and like you said, with the throwable weapons at Edge's disposal right now, and
that was fast.
Speaking of, well, that was short-lived.
We almost got a kill before Big Bang number. Was that a refill skip?
Yeah, that was a refill skip.
Wow, he got a refill skip immediately after Big Bang 1. That without going too deep into Z physics, I already gave my my lecture for the day. That is not easy to do, folks. Pancraz does finish in first place with a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 18 seconds. That is absolutely fantastic done, and really just a excellent display of optimal play. If you finished in first place, you get that time with a 17 out of 17. You done did good.
You done good. And it looks like Xenocat just finished up the Wyvern spot on the moon, so probably will be heading down.
Yeah, and I would imagine that if Xenocat at this point, having seen Adopta, may just not even take any more boss fights and immediately jump in. It looks like we are joined by Pancraz. Well done, sir. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, GG. That was a, for lack of better term, that was an exhibition on your part. That was clean.
I aim to entertain.
So the first thing I gotta ask, that Z fight, were you intentionally going for a quick refill skip?
Necessarily, it just kind of worked out that way. I realized when Kane did his swing and it didn't have the pause, that I had a chance for it with the Palom nuke incoming, and it worked out.
I'd be hard pressed to find a Z fight that was faster than that one. Good golly, Miss Molly, that was super well done. As far as the rest of the seed went, Darkness Crystal shows up. Were you thinking Moon immediately, or was Fey March on the mind? How was your approach with that?
I was thinking Moon right off the bat, more or less. I know that there's there's 2 free ribbon checks. That's about the same percentage chance of a key item in 1 Fey March spot versus 1 Moon spot. And needing 2 of them, I figured I'd go up there, get the higher density stuff, do the grind while I'm up there, and set up to roll over the rest of the seed. If need be, take care of those kind of rude Fey March bosses when I get back to Earth.
Yeah, we were definitely kind of, sort of. Well, okay, we were 100% rooting for the pan to be behind the gauntlet, but sadly we had to settle for a 17 out of 17, which is perfectly fine. Now I did notice you didn't necessarily do like a lot of the free checks right away. You kind of went about your business. Was there anything in particular that kind of prompted you to do that route as opposed to like maybe checking harp, Zot characters, or underground right away, or is that
Yeah.
just something you tend to do?
It really depends on the seed. In this one, I had the early Magma Key, which really changed my early pathing a little bit. I like to go to the freebies, grab the Twin Harp thing, or grab the Twin Harp one, grab Bedward, then route to the underground if need be. But having the Siren from Watery Pass combined with the Magma Key, it seemed easier to go around, peek a little bit to try and find a pan and a character to use the Siren on, and then use the Magma Key to go underground instead of hopping through the hook route like I usually would. Then come back when I have the ability to clear the Zot bosses and everything, and route more efficiently to do everything while I'm over there, and wind up in Baron at the end of it.
Yep. Well, totally makes sense. That's all I got. Martin, did you have any other questions for him?
You covered my questions beautifully. I couldn't come up with anything better.
Well, congratulations, dude, on your first place overall. You most importantly, you beat Annadale, which is really what's the important thing about this race. But yeah, like, well done. If you have any closing comments for this particular seed.
Not really. It was a fun seed and had to jump around a whole bunch, either in battle or out of it. It was a good time. Thanks to all of you for putting on this broadcast. I can run all the seeds I want, but we don't have a show without all of you. So thank you, and I look forward to watching it back and hearing commentary.
Well, thanks. We appreciate it very much. And I guess I should mention, since we did bring up his name, we did have a second place finish at a time of 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 16 seconds. The Jump King himself, Annadale, does finish in second. And third place with a time of 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 59 seconds. And Venerable does finish in third place. So GG's to them as well. Yeah, thanks again, Pancraz. Appreciate it. We do see Xenocat is turning in their pan. Not quite a 17 out of 17, but still, like 15 out of 17 in hour 13 is absolutely fantastic, and is going to be immediately heading to the Z fight to likely get put in a very good time as well.
Absolutely.
Now, I didn't get a chance to see what Xenocat's levels were. Did you catch how far they grinded in preparation for those Feymarch fights?
I believe Xeno stopped in the low 50s. So
okay,
should be good to go. Yeah.
It's always a little bit dicey when your only white mage is a Porum. Porum's HP pool is not what you'd want it to be for a boss that can cast a spell that will do upwards of 2,000 damage to you. However, given the amount of firepower our runners have, might not be an issue. And did you see how Xenocat got into the pass room?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the pass room.
That doesn't look a lot like a pass room.
Okay, I don't know why I thought like Xenocat was unveiling some kind of hidden tech to go like from the treasury. Also, is that two Avengers in there?
That was a couple of Avengers in the treasury. That was
casual Avengers. Okay, I guess this would be a place where Avengers Assemble would be a joke, but I mean, wow,
that's a thing.
Yes, that is definitely an out of 10 treasury. We are swimming in incredibly good items right now. That Forum is going to have, with that white shirt, is going to have pretty much best in set gear. Well, I don't think. No, Xenocat did not pick up the white shirt. That was Pancras, but it's still going to be rocking Life Staff Protect Ring Ribbon.
And I'm glad that Xeno decided to at least go into the inventory and do a few things. It's never a good feeling when you're in a final fight and you go to swap out your defense sword for an Avenger and find out, no, you have no room in your inventory to do it. Oh, it's
yes,
such a
that is the
painful
worst
feeling.
Yes, I totally know that feel, especially. Yeah, that's and the only way that can generally happen is if you happen to be blessed with multiple Avengers, and we have 3. So, okay, well, won't be worrying about having to cast Berserk this fight. That's for sure.
No. This will definitely, this could be a put your controller down and just let things fly fight.
Yeah, if only we had multiple Cecils, we could turn that one Crystal Sword into many. But alas, we have to just deal with only having 2 Avengers, one on Kane, a Murasame Long on Edge. Yeah, and if they're all RA1, we may only see one Big Bang.
Yeah.
Usually at Relative Agility 1, the threshold to get to one Big Bang is right around 10k damage per round, and I kind of feel like with this damage, we're going to be very, very close to that. So this should be a pretty quick Z fight.
Absolutely. I guess while we're waiting, we could throw out the hey, make sure you go follow our wonderful runners. They're both amazing people.
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to see some very solid free enterprise play, you will absolutely want to follow both of our featured runners. Also want to give a shout out to everybody involved in this restream. Sheep Launcher is doing an excellent job tracking. Asuka giving us this 17 out of 17 masterpiece. And you, my co-commentator, Martin Broadcloak, I can speak today. Caught your stream plenty of times. Absolutely fantastic experience. Wholly recommend a follow. Would love to see drop all those runners a follow. Always a fantastic time. And here comes Z-Fight number 2.
Hey, I know this boss. This is from Final Fantasy 14.
That's right. I totally know who this boss is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if Xenocat decides to just dart or straight up use a Bacchus. Bacchus is generally faster, but I mean, when you have this kind of armory sitting in your inventory, it almost seems wasteful to not do near 10,000 damage a turn.
Right?
I mean, the only thing we're missing here is like a Ragnarok and an Illumina to chuck, and then we've got pretty much the entire every good weapon in the game and other games. But yeah, not too much of an issue here. Generally, when you have Relative Agility 1 and you're relying on a lot of Zerkers, you don't even really need the Silk Web. It's more along the lines of just to nerf that first Big Bang.
Right.
And we will almost certainly see a refill skip here. Or, I'm sorry, a phase transition. Refill skip could happen, but would be incredibly difficult to pull off with 2 Berserkers, which is kind of why Pancraz pulling it off the way he did is doubly impressive, because that is not an easy thing to do with Zerk on the table.
No, not at all. It's nice that we get to see 2 different versions of this final fight. Is okay, here's the shortcut, and here is the full 106,000 HP that Zeramis has.
Yeah, so for those people who may not be as familiar with this particular fight, because Final Fantasy IV can only have a maximum HP of what I think is probably around 65,000 HP. Final Fantasy IV's workaround for that is after you hit a certain threshold of damage, he's going to refill his damage again. So once he takes about 45,000 damage or so, if he gets another direct damage, that's going to initiate his refill, and then he gets like another 60,000 or something. However, if that last batch of damage can get him to about the 60,000 mark, and the last direct hit carries him over that 61,000 mark, you skip the refill entirely, and he goes down right away. And that's why a lot of times you'll see runners will do a whole lot of reflects to just make the fight a lot shorter. But when you have this kind of beefiness in your party, you don't even need it. We see one Meteo, the party laughs it off, and Zeus is down. Cat finishes in 4th place with a time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, 1 second.
GG's to Xeno. It was a good fight. It was a good run.
Yeah, with the treasury and having to take on the levels to do either moon fights or that alt gauntlet, and with the equipment in hand, Zeromus little anticlimactic, not to see too much drama for this particular fight. But we did get this was 16 out of 17, Pancras 17 out of 17, just where the key items were. It'd be very difficult to not have a very close to a full check. And doing so in an hour, 21 minutes doesn't matter what flag set is. That's really good.
Absolutely.
And we should be able to get Xeno in here in just a moment. It's a good time to plug some. Well, I guess we'll mention this if you really like what you see in Push B to Jump. This club is run every Wednesday at this time. 6:30 Pacific. You'd think I know. I was doing commentary. Right, but it is the same time every week. It is streamed every other week as part of our stream rotation, and try to give every club a moment in the sun. And so if you want to take part in this, then you should absolutely consider joining this every Wednesday. And we'll tell you about all the other club races as soon as we get Xeno in here and we finish that interview.
I think Xeno is being one for the people, and I think we may be getting some music.
Hey, let's see what we get.
Nothing like a little Kokiri Forest to finish it off. I don't miss that. I really don't miss that.
Listen. So we do have a 5th place finisher, PK4787, finishing in 5th place with a time 1 hour 23 minutes 27 seconds. GG's to him. And yeah, this is one nice feature that was added in the most recent revision of Free Enterprise. After you've defeated Zeromus and you get to the screen that shows the planets and all that, you can reset and go back to Bedward and talk to the harp. And even if you didn't do the Twin Harp, it'll play the Twin Harp song, which is always really nice.
Very convenient feature. You know, you finish a seed, and then you had to go back and defeat the Dark Elf. Like, just give me the music.
Yeah, especially this particular flag set where like we're not going to ever want to check that and get the music ever. So it definitely really comes in handy here.
Absolutely.
So I guess we will mention the other club races if you are interested in checking them out. Schedule is posted on the Free Enterprise Discord. Link is in the chat, so please, if you want to join this community, we would love to have you here. We do stream the 2 community races Monday and Friday nights. We have Enterprise Legacy restreamed every Friday night, and then we have 2 of 4 club races streamed every week. This week was the Underground Racing Club yesterday and the Jump Club today. The next week you get the Lunar Racing Club on Thursday and the Sunday Slapdash appropriately on Sunday. So if you like to see lots of club races, lots of varied flags, just keep your eyes peeled on this channel. There's going to be 5 races a week, which is pretty darn awesome. We do have a couple more finishes. Stone Dingley finishing in 6th place with a time of 1 hour 25 minutes 27 seconds. Michael Korgs finishing in 7th. right behind with a time of 1 hour 26 and 1 second.
GG's to both of them.
Let's see, how many missions did we have? I think this was 19, if I remember right. Or is it 12? 12, okay. So we're about halfway through. Oh, and we got a couple more. Let's see, we have Bad Karma finishing in 8th with a time of 1 hour 26 minutes, 32 seconds. Poor Jack finishing in 9th with a time of 1 hour 26 minutes and 35 seconds. Get your snipes out! Wow, 3-second difference. There we go. I was gonna say, where's the Rosa snipe emoji on that finish? There it is.
Right. And these are some amazing times being put up by. I mean, you hear 9th place in 1 hour and 26 minutes. Don't let that discount the fact that this is fast.
Yeah, this was a pretty stacked race too.
Yeah.
As far as the people that are racing, we had 12 absolutely terrific runners that are showing you, like we had mentioned before, this was the kind of seed where it was very, very difficult to not do, if not 17 out of 17, like 16 or 15. This seed requires you to go a whole lot of different places, and like a lot of these finishes are going to be very high completion percent. If you break out high completion percentage seeds, normally they're even around 2 hours, and yes, push B to jump mitigates some of that, but these are still absolutely terrific times.
Yeah. Well, it's also not even just push B to jump, but it's, I mean, there are other flags involved, Hey, adamant armors are in the game. Like, there's one for you.
Yeah, I mean, nothing makes you say I don't necessarily need to grind and seeing an adamant armor, but sometimes you never know what the boss is going to throw at you. There are a few bosses that can specifically say, well, there's Kainazo does not care about your adamant armor. And in fact, we almost had one of them. Like, if that DKC happened to have the pan, he does not really care what armor you're wearing. You could have 5 adamant armors in 5 slots. If that was somehow possibly feasible, he would still do 1200 damage a pop, and you would need to deal with it.
And it looks like we are joined by Xenocat. Xenocat GG.
Thank you.
I'll take the first question. I only have one. What do you think of the Fey Martian who was sitting there?
As soon as I saw that Fey March, I was like, I am not doing this unless this is the last thing left in the seed.
A thought echoed by probably most of us when we saw that.
Yeah, it's one of those checks where sometimes it could be a really tough decision. Did that kind of want you to go to the moon maybe earlier, or were you at a point where you're like, well, maybe this is a gamble I want to take to hope that nobody else did it?
Well, at that point, when I saw the Alt Gauntlet down there, I knew the Blue Robe in Dwarf Castle had to be Water Hag, so that drove me straight to Dwarf Castle.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. As far as like your early game routing goes, we noticed that you did tend to prioritize a lot of the free checks. Is that something you like to kind of have as set for this particular meta, or does it kind of just depend on your loot? What made you kind of veer that way for this particular seed?
It depends. If I find a really good character like that Edge up in Zot, I'll usually just take out Zot right away and then do Baron while I'm in the area. But if I don't have... And with the Tella, I figured Cave Magnus was super free since I could exit out, but otherwise I might just dive straight underground after that initial Baron and Troya loot.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I guess the other divergence I noticed between you and Pancraz was you did take the Cecil, whereas Pancraz did pass on him. Was that something you had in mind for the Odin spot, or was that just you might find a Holy Sword or an Avenger or 3?
At that point, I already had a light sword, so I was thinking, okay, I've already got his best weapon that I could find in a shop. I may as well take him along, see if I can find anything better. I remembered a little bit after the check, I was like, oh yeah, I can do Baron Basement really free now, so that's another bonus. And then the Excal turned up at the Crystal Sword altar, and I was like, well, I'll take it.
Nice. and then the treasury check afterward, which gave you like every high tier weapon you could ever want, except the Holy Swords.
Yep. There were like 2 Avengers in there, Artemis Bow, Murasame, Ribbon, Crystal Ring. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that Wildish treasury can be absolutely bonkers. Well, that's pretty much all I got. Martin, did you have any other questions for Xenocat here?
I would say you covered it very well. So GG on the race, though. That was wonderful to watch.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for restreaming me.
Yeah, you bet. You absolutely put on like a very good show. It was a very good display, and with the kind of seed that leans toward a high completion, getting that much of the seed done in that time is something to absolutely be proud of. So you did good. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, looks like we have one more finisher. Dr. Cossack does come in 10th place with a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, 39 seconds. And I think that is going to wrap us up here. We will be sending a raid over to Apex Corbett, who I believe is practicing or doing old Fabu Gauntlet seeds, which is pretty neat. And I guess that's about gonna do it, Martin. It was a pleasure.
Flurry, words cannot express. It was a great time.
Well, hopefully we get to do this again soon, and everybody else who is watching, please do not spoil the results of this race for anyone who may want to watch the VOD in Apex Corbett's channel. And yeah, y'all have a good night. We'll catch you guys next time.
Take care, everyone.